Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, hi, my name is Katie Bismarck. I'm an author. I write fantasy and romance. My 12th book's called Tell Me Wrong and it releases on April 14th. All my links are down below. Today's a bit of a throwback to an older video that came out, I want to say like 3 years ago. I'll have it linked down below. I actually just rewatched it and it still stands up. That one is like tough love, writing advice. And this one is kind of in the same vein. I don't know how I'm going to title this at this point. Basically, I've been an author for about 7 years. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I wish I had known 7 years ago. Super brief rundown on me if you don't know me, if you're new here. I have 11 books out currently. 3 of them are poetry collections. They look like this. One of them is a dark urban fantasy vampire series. Looks like this. And then I also write contemporary romance in a lot of different subgenres. I have some small town romance, romantic suspense, new adult college, and I have one random outlier young adult book. Then I also have a Patreon exclusive book, which is sci-fi. So I guess technically I have 12 books out. I always forget about that one. My first book came out in, I say 7 years, but you'll also hear me say 5 years. Sometimes it's a little bit complicated. My first one came out in 2018. That was just kind of a for fun project while I was still in college. And then I like really went all in and decided to try to make writing my full-time job in 2020, and that's when my first novel came out. Now I'm 28 years old and I have been working full-time for myself for 4 years now, almost 5 years, and I make a full-time living just from my writing. I think I have 10 things on this list, so let's just jump straight into it. Number 1, every book doesn't have to be your best work. Starting with a hot take, a little controversial, it just has to be the best that you can do right now. I feel like so many people just like waste so much time putting off writing the book because of like a perfectionism sort of mindset where it's not good enough, they'll think they'll be better later, and it stretches into working on the same book for like 10 years or just never publishing at all. The fact of the matter is there are some things that you cannot learn working on the same book forever. You're gonna learn a lot from writing that first book. You're gonna learn a lot from publishing that first book. But there are things that you have to learn that you can't until you get to later books. Like each book is going to be a little puzzle piece. And if you never move forward with that first book, you're never gonna level up in those ways because you're not gonna get to those steps. At some point, you just have to decide this book is done. I'm gonna take the leap, whatever path you're going, you know, self-publishing, traditional publishing. And if you're holding it back because it's not good enough yet, I'm not ready yet, is never gonna happen for you. It's literally never gonna come. I look back at my previous books and there are some of them that I like can't even open because I cringe, but I have absolutely no regrets about publishing them. There are things that I learned from those books that have been invaluable and they've made me the writer that I am today, and I feel like I have improved so much. And you know, I do the best with every single book, so at the time it was the best that I could do. My first book came out when I was 21 or 22. That's one of them. I can't look at it, but at the time it was the best that I could do. And if I hadn't published that book, genuinely, I don't think I would be sitting here. It doesn't have to be the best work of your career. It just has to be the best that you can make it right now. Number 2, you have to let people dislike you. You have to let people dislike your books. I think this goes for more than just publishing, and this might be a little more personal to me because I am a former recovering people pleaser and like needing everyone to like me, needing people's approval. You gotta get over it. You gotta let people dislike you, especially with today's landscape for being an author and how much marketing is gonna fall on you and how much you're gonna have to put yourself out there. You don't necessarily have to be on social media and put your face to it. Lots of authors have found success without doing it. But even if you don't put your face out there, like people are gonna make assumptions. People are gonna think that they know you more than they actually do no matter what. And people are gonna have strong opinions in both ways. And you have to just let them. Don't let it affect you too much and suck too much of your energy, because literally no matter what you do, there are going to be people who hate your guts. There's not a single person who is universally liked. There's not a single author who's has one book that's universally liked, let alone their entire catalog. The negativity, unfortunately, is just a part of the game. And unfortunately, I think it might just be like the accessibility and the rise of social media. We have seen so many more authors behaving badly and just like showing their entire ass in public. The negativity is gonna happen, it's gonna come. Deal with it quietly, deal with it privately. Don't put it out there. Get a group chat, get some other authors you can vent to, and just let people be wrong about you also, because they might make false assumptions. They might review bomb your books for reasons that have nothing to do with the quality of the book. There's just gonna be things that happen outside of your control, and people who are gonna be assholes are just, they're gonna behave that way no matter what. Let them. Honestly, just put the blinders on and just like don't pay attention to them. Number 3, a little contradictory, be wary of advice. Be wary of taking advice from anybody. Every path is different. Everyone's path is different. So just be wary of who you take advice from and be wary of taking advice in general. I say as I'm giving you advice, because something that works for person A, it's not that they're lying, it's just it might not work for you. Or they might tell you never ever do this, this would never work, but it worked for person B. And then as far as be wary of who you take advice from, a lot of people, like the way that they make their living is by giving advice, not by doing the thing that they're giving advice on. So if someone's telling you like, this is how to write a book, this is how to publish, this is to make a full-time living, but they're not doing that, something just doesn't check out there. Why would you take advice from someone saying this is how you write a book from someone who's never written a book? This is how you publish from someone who's never published. This is how you become a full-time author from someone who's not a full-time author. Not that they might not have some good insights, but fact check. Just look into the people who are, especially if they're making money, especially if they are profiting off of the advice that they're giving you, just be wary. Unfortunately, publishing industry, rampant with scams. They're everywhere. There are people trying to take advantage of people everywhere. There are courses and everything. Not to say there aren't legitimate courses. I've taken some myself. Be wary. So this next one is a bit in response to a popular piece of advice, which is to just focus on getting a ton of books out there, and backlist is king. That's how you're going to make a living. You will be able to make more money with your marketing once you have more books out there. However, you can still start marketing with book one. I'm still in the camp where I would suggest really focusing on getting those first few books out there, because it's easy to get distracted with the marketing and it will just slow you down, and it slows your ability to publish more, which will hurt you in the long run. First priority should always be writing the next book, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I guess the main piece of advice here is just try to strike a balance. Prioritize writing the next book, but you can still make money just from having 1 or 2 books out there. But you will find, at least for me, marketing can become this productive procrastination thing, because you'll start to see results a lot more quickly. You'll get that like instant gratification, which you do not get from writing a book, because that is hours and hours, a year of your life you're pouring into something without seeing any results yet. Whereas marketing, you post a TikTok and you see a sale that day, instant. Easy to get distracted, easy to get an imbalance there. The next one, kind of going back to the first point, no mistake will kill your career. So don't stress about it so much. I have made a million mistakes in my career. I don't know a single author who hasn't, who, if you ask them, there aren't like certain things that they wish they had done differently. You'll learn from them. You'll do better with your next release. There's really nothing that you can't bounce back from. Even the people who do things that are like morally not great, they get like canceled on social media. They're still making a full-time living. They're still writing the books. Like, this is not me advocating that you should go do something morally reprehensible. Like, you can always start over, start a new pen name if you have to. I'm just saying there is a way to pivot out of basically everything. The main point here is just like, don't stress too much about, am I making the right decision? That decision paralysis, I think, stops a lot of people and slows them down. Make a decision, commit to it, do your research ahead of time, obviously, be as educated on it as you can, but just make a decision and move forward with it and see where it goes. That's kind of my personality though. So next, a really common misconception with publishing: you don't have to be a bestseller to make a living, and a good living at that. I think a lot of people think that it's just the like top of the charts, really famous authors who are making good money, and that's just absolutely not true. This is something that I really was not knowledgeable about before I got into self-publishing, like just how many authors were incredibly successful that you've probably never heard of. Like, literally, in the grand scheme of things, I am a nobody author, but I'm now making multiple 6 figures from my books, and there are thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of authors who are doing the same thing, who, if you looked at their books, you might not necessarily expect it. You don't have to reach like crazy levels of success, crazy amount of sales, to be able to make this a full-time job for you. It's absolutely possible for you, and many authors are making it work. The number one thing that helps for a lot of the different hard parts of this job: community. Community makes all the difference, and luckily the author and writing community is honestly just like one of the purest ones I have ever been a part of. Not to say there aren't some little sketchy parts of town, there are, but honestly, as someone who has been publishing for 7 years, it's more of like, I hear about those like sketchy things. I don't know if I have ever run into an author and had a bad experience with them. I have pretty much all of my personal experiences have been lovely. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, make some friends, join some groups. The majority of us are introverted and nerdy as well, so odds are the person you want to be friends with also wants to be friends with you. I have incorporated this so much more in recent years, and it has made such a difference, and it's made my job so much more fulfilling. Like, I already loved my job, but now to be able to go to events and like meet people in person, to have a writing group and to meet up with other writers every week, online connections, because you usually don't live in the same place as a lot of your writer friends. Like, I just have met such cool people, and I have made more friends than I've ever had in my entire life since becoming an author. Like, writing the books and getting to have my dream job is super fulfilling in its own way, and then the community that I have created and found has been like a completely different level of fulfillment. So make an effort, push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. If it's uncomfortable for you, it's worth the effort. Next, do your research and do it often, because this is a fast moving and fast changing industry. Do not get stuck and set in your ways of like, well, this worked 5 years ago. Things are changing. You will get left behind. I don't mean that to like scare you. Honestly, if anything, I feel like that should be like exciting. Things don't get boring around here, and that also just means new opportunities are coming up all the time. Cover trends change, new marketing tactics, the market itself will change on what genres are doing well, and we've seen such a surge in reading becoming popular again in recent years, which is really exciting. Do your research and do it often. And then finally, this is more of like a mindset kind of tip. This is something I wish I could remember who I heard say this, but it's just something that I kept in mind, not just for my career, just for my life. I really liked. Make sure your actions align with your desires, not your fears. Because the thing is, if you want to argue for your limitations, nobody's gonna stop you. If you want to argue, if you want to be the #1 advocate for your excuses, nobody's gonna argue with you. Nobody's gonna stop you. You have to be the one to show up for yourself and decide, am I making this decision from a place of fear or because it's going to bring me closer to the thing that I want? Feel the fear and do it anyway, man. I think that's it. That's my list. If you have anything to add, if you've been publishing for a while, some things you've picked up, things you wish you could tell yourself before you started publishing, I would love to see it down below in the comments. And I'm sure lots of other people would. I think it's gonna be a pretty short and sweet video. That's it for today. All my links are down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video very, very soon. Bye.
Occasionally, I need to breathe. Stop me for a second, I got needs. Occasionally, I set them free. Don't hold me back now, I'm in the lead. This part, so cold life. This part, so cold life. What a time to be alive. Lately, I've been dancing on my own so brave.